The rain had been falling steadily for hours, each drop tapping a quiet rhythm on the windows like a lullaby only the night understood. Inside, the air was thick with a silence that stretched beyond the walls, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting. In the dim glow of a flickering lamp, a lone figure sat by the window, eyes drifting beyond the glass, searching for something only the shadows knew. Outside, the darkened street whispered secrets in the language of rain, and in that stillness, a memory stirred, fragile and luminous, like a firefly caught in a jar. She remembered a time when the world was painted in brighter hues, when laughter echoed freely and the days felt endless with possibility. Her fingers brushed the glass softly, as if trying to hold on to a ghost of a moment gone by. The scent of rain mingled with the scent of her own breath, and in that quiet space, she felt the weight of years pressing down, yet also the faint flicker of hope, like a star struggling to pierce through a heavy sky. Every droplet that traced its way down the window was a tiny reminder that even in darkness, there was a whisper of light waiting to be found. Her mind drifted back to a time when her world was simpler, when innocence wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She could still see the small garden behind her childhood home, where wildflowers danced in the breeze and her laughter had once mingled with the hum of bees. That place was a sanctuary, a secret universe she had built with her own hands, where time slowed and every moment was an eternity of wonder. She remembered the gentle touch of her mother's hand, guiding her through the chaos of growing up, speaking in quiet gestures that only hearts could understand. Those days felt like a faint melody now, just out of reach, yet somehow still alive in her veins. The past was a canvas painted with bright colors, sunlit afternoons, the taste of homemade lemonade, the feeling of dirt under her nails after a day spent dreaming among the flowers. Every memory was a seed planted deep within her soul, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. She had carried them through storms and silence, their roots anchoring her even when the present felt like a jagged edge cutting into her skin. And yet, amidst the shadows, she sensed a fragile promise, that the story of her childhood was never truly lost, only waiting to be rediscovered. As she sat there, the rain continued its quiet symphony, each note a whisper from a past that refused to fade. A faint smile touched her lips, a reflection of something long cherished but seldom spoken. It was as if the universe had conspired to remind her that her heart still held the keys to that innocence, that hope, that boundless curiosity. Somewhere beyond the window, in the muted glow of a world cloaked in rain, she felt a flicker of reassurance, that no matter how far she had traveled or how dark the night, the light of her memories would always guide her back home. A sudden gust of wind tore through the stillness, rattling the windows and scattering the remnants of her fragile reverie. Her hand clenched the edge of the windowsill as if anchoring herself to a memory about to slip away. Then, in a flash of lightning that illuminated the night like a scream of light, she saw him, standing there, no more than a shadow, yet unmistakably him. His face was a blur of childhood innocence and reckless defiance, eyes holding a storm she had once tried to tame. That night, the night everything changed, came crashing back with brutal clarity. She remembered the way he had looked at her, a mix of longing and rebellion, a silent plea for understanding she could never quite grasp. He had been the spark that ignited her world, the one who made her believe in magic. Until that night, when everything shattered in an instant. They had been chasing fireflies in the dark, laughter spilling from their lips like sparks, when he had climbed too high, reaching for a star that was never meant to be caught. The moment he fell, the sickening crunch of bones, the silence that followed, was etched into her memory like a wound that refused to heal. She remembered running to him, the frantic pulse pounding in her ears, trying desperately to hold on to his trembling hand, to call out to him, but the words were lost in the storm. The night had swallowed his scream, leaving her alone in the rain, clutching at the hollow shell of their childhood. That night had marked a rupture so profound it seemed to rip her entire world in two. The innocence she had carried like a fragile vessel shattered into shards that cut deep. The boy she loved, her partner in endless dreams and reckless adventures, was gone in that moment, replaced by a shadow of grief and guilt she carried like a second skin. She remembered the funeral, the quiet whispers of mourning, the way her mother's tears carved silent paths down her face as if they could wash away the pain. She had been just a girl then, trying to hold her breath amid the storm of loss, trying to find a way to breathe again in a world turned cold and unfamiliar. In the aftermath, everything changed. Her childhood home, once a sanctuary of laughter and light, became a mausoleum of memories too heavy to bear. She carried the weight of that night in her bones, every detail etched into her skin, a scar that time could not fade. She learned to bury her grief beneath layers of silence, pretending not to notice how her heart was fractured, how her eyes often searched the distance for something that would never return. She built walls around herself, brick by brick, to protect what little remained of her innocence. The girl who once believed in magic learned to hide her wounds behind a mask of composure, her smiles a fragile illusion crafted to keep the past at bay. Now, years later, she sat by the window, her reflection a ghostly mirror of that girl, eyes hollowed by loss, yet still flickering with the faint ember of hope. The rain continued to fall, washing away the tears she refused to shed aloud. Every droplet was a reminder of that night, an echo of what was lost and what could never be retrieved. The memories had become a silent chorus, whispering truths she dared not confront, truths that defined her in ways she tried to forget. Her heart, once open and unguarded, now bore scars like a map of battles fought in darkness. She felt the weight of her past pressing down on her chest, constricting her breath, a reminder that some wounds never truly heal, they only fade into shadows and silence. The present was a mirror of that pain, a quiet ache that lingered beneath her skin, coloring every moment with a muted gray. She moved through her days like a ghost, carrying the ghost of herself, haunted by what she had lost, and what she could never undo. Her dreams were haunted by echoes of laughter and the faint scent of rain, memories that flickered in her mind like fragile flames. She wondered if the girl she once was would ever return, or if she was forever lost in that storm of tragedy. The scars had become part of her, silent witnesses to a love and a loss that shaped her into someone she no longer recognized. In her solitude, she often found herself gazing at the same window, the rain blurring her reflection into a distorted image of who she once was. She clung to the hope that somewhere beneath the layers of pain, a spark still flickered, an ember of the girl who believed in magic, in love, in the possibility of healing. Yet, every time she looked back, she saw the shadow of that night, an irreversible rupture that had carved its mark deep into her soul. Her tears, long hidden, threatened to surface in the quiet darkness, but she fought them back, knowing they would only drown her in memories she was too exhausted to face. As the storm outside raged on, so did the storm within her, a relentless tide of grief, regret, and longing. She carried her scars like a silent armor, a testament to the love she had lost and the pain she could never escape. And still, amidst all the darkness, she wondered if the tiniest fragment of hope, the same one she had once clung to as a girl, would ever find its way back to her, lighting her path through the shadows she now called home. The rain eventually softened into a gentle mist, whispering lullabies to the world that had long since forgotten how to listen. She rose from her seat, her movements slow and deliberate, as if waking from a long, restless sleep. The storm inside her had not fully abated, but a quiet acceptance had begun to seep through the cracks of her fractured heart. She looked out once more, gazing through the window at the rain-washed street, where memories danced in the shimmer of droplets, faint, elusive, but no longer haunting her with such relentless force. She felt the weight of her past, heavy as stone, but also seen in the light that now seeped through her eyes, a light born from the understanding that some wounds, no matter how deep, could be stitched into the fabric of who she was becoming. In that moment, she allowed herself to breathe deeply, the air thick with the scent of earth and rain, an earthy perfume that grounded her in the present. The shadows of yesterday still clung to her skin, but they no longer defined her. Instead, they served as silent witnesses to a journey through darkness, a testament to resilience she had never fully acknowledged until now. Her fingers brushed the worn fabric of her coat, feeling the roughness, the imperfections, reminders that life's scars, like the weathered fabric, could carry beauty in their imperfection. She closed her eyes briefly, imagining a future where the rain had washed away the remnants of pain, leaving behind a landscape of quiet hope and fragile renewal. She remembered her childhood garden, where wildflowers once grew with reckless abandon, unafraid of storms or silence. Somewhere within her, that wildflower still thrived, rooted deep in the earth of her soul, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. The storm that had torn through her life had threatened to drown her in darkness, but it also revealed the resilience hidden beneath layers of pain. She realized that growth was born from destruction, that even in the aftermath of tragedy, life found a way to whisper softly, urging her to listen. And listen she would, for now she understood that her scars were not marks of defeat, but maps of survival, proof that she had loved fiercely, lost painfully, and yet, somehow, still remained. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, carrying with it the faintest promise of dawn. The horizon was tinged with a delicate hue of pink and gold, a silent testament to hope's quiet return. She stepped away from the window, her silhouette outlined against the muted glow of dawn, and moved toward a small box tucked away in the corner, a box filled with photographs, letters, and fragments of her past. With trembling hands she reached for it, not to bury her memories, but to honor them. As she sifted through the relics of days long gone, she found herself smiling through tears, an acknowledgement that her story was not defined solely by loss, but also by love, resilience, and the quiet strength that had carried her through the storm. In that act of remembrance, she felt a flicker of peace, warm and fragile, like the first light breaking through a stormy sky. Her heart, once shattered into 1,000 pieces, was slowly mending, pieced together with threads of forgiveness and acceptance. She whispered softly to the silence, "It's okay to let go." And in that surrender, a new beginning unfurled, one born not from forgetting, but from the deep knowing that she carried her scars with grace. She was no longer the girl lost in shadows, she was a survivor, a woman reborn from the ashes of grief, standing resilient in the dawn's gentle glow. As she stepped outside, the air felt different, lighter, infused with the promise of renewal. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a world washed clean, shimmering with possibility. The sky stretched wide and open, an invitation to breathe anew. She closed her eyes and let the cool wind brush her face, feeling the layers of her past dissolve into the vastness of the present. With each breath, she embraced the truth that healing was not a destination, but a journey, one that would continue beyond the horizon, guided by the quiet strength of her own heart. And in that moment, she understood that even in her most broken state, she had found her way back to herself, whole, imperfect, and infinitely resilient. The storm had passed, and in its wake, she was finally ready to step into the light, carrying the echoes of love and loss as a testament to the beauty of her imperfect, relentless soul.